Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge, in a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural balanced energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 396th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 2nd, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. And I'll be a host today. My name is Rick Crammond. And as usual, we present Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who will be presenting today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Today, teaching is very much what we see in the background. It's about the light, about how the light is created. What is the essence of light? Why in the world of the matter state we use cars and we use donkeys and we use rocket propulsion and everything else, but in the world of creation we use light. We have spoken in other teachings about the light, but today we're going to open another dimension, another understanding of the totality. What does it mean, light? Where does it come from? What is the essence of it? Why do we use it as a means of transportation? Why do we use it as a new system of transmutation? In a way, in the world of the matter state, we create converters. We convert one energy to another. We go from a car to a bicycle, to a donkey, to whatever means, to move from one position to another. In the present world of electronics and computer, we use fiberglass. We use rapid information data as noise. We use different form of the lights in a matter state. But what's the difference between the light in the universal cosmic direction and unicos and the light to the eye of the man? What would be the future of the man when he travels in the dimension of the soul? Would we still see the white light? Or would we see light? Or will we explain light as means of transportation and transmutation? We look at it as a position at the moment that as it's there we can see, allows our vision to be aware of the environment. But light in the mode of the creation is a means of transport. It's a means of positioning from one place to another. It's a means of understanding the totality of the creation and its positioning in the universe. We call the light when it appears as the daytime. We call the light when it appears on a light bulb. But in the world of creation, light is totally different. Light is means of going from A to B at the fastest time to make it zero time. We see light as a ray, or we see light as a particle. In fact, in the world of creation, we have both. In the unicos, we can become a light. We can transport billions of tons of matter state in man's dimension in the capsule of light. But we have not managed to understand, truly define, to comprehend the structure of the light. In book number 2, I tried to open the subject that the light is a cylindrical plasma. In a way, whatever you put in cylinder and be able to transmute it, you will reach to the point where you want. We create the light in the world of creation, not light to be created as an out of interaction. We become part of that light. We enter that cylinder and we transmute with it. In the coming weeks, by the opening of the exhibition center in Linz, we will show you the first what we call transmutation systems. We show how we transfer the body of the man as a light from one to another. How we structure the body to become in that capsule, and then we move the capsule. If you read some of the papers written in the past, we always said, if we can make a box of nanomatters, doesn't matter what we put in the box. It's like an envelope. Do you put a love letter? Do you put a note? Or do you put money in it? It's the envelope which carries it. And mankind and the scientific world has come to understand light is that envelope. How do you want it to move? But with a difference that with the light, you have to position the destination that it can arrive at that point. It's very much like a satellite. You have a digital number, it ends up on the mobile phone you carry. It doesn't matter where you are on Earth. We need to use the GPS of the other unicauses as the position of the interference and interaction within a universe. And then we use a unicause itself as a satellite for the position of one universe to another. In time, mankind will learn this. We travel the span of the unicause this way. We don't have satellites. We use other universes, dimension and interaction with other universes as a means of transportation satellite system. It means we use the interaction of the one to reach to the other what is not on the line of the view or line of interaction. In a way, it's very much as you travel to go from one place on Earth, you have to stop or refuel, or you suddenly divert to another position. It's the same way. Mankind has got to learn. The satellite present time which is made is limited to the height from the Earth. Once mankind become wise to it, it will use the structure of the fields of the moon for navigation, for transmutation, for transportation. It will use the fields of the nearest stars to create a condition of the position and point. It uses multitudes of the stars to create a point in the universe where he wants to be. And we do all these with light references and life packages, which means we have become mature enough to understand that the light in the world of creation is a means of transportation. It's a means of being able to transport, and within the structure of the transportation, to add or to take energies from it, to call it a transmutation, where you enter one energy as a gold and you transmute it to silver or to copper, or vice versa. Again, all this has to be done in reference to the points of the energies of the light within the structure of the universe. This is why in the technologies which will be introduced in a gradual way, and on the 6th of June next year as we endeavor to go to moon, we use these means of transportation. In the Keshe Foundation research centers, we are developing the first stages of what we call transmutation systems. We hope that you will see the first ones by the opening or the earliest stages of opening of the Linz Exhibition Center. It's not a dream. It's not something to be, the system is on the table. The system is getting developed that for man to understand. Systems where you enter a box and you transmute or transport yourself to a new condition in another box, in another position. These things used to be the, what I call fantasies of sci-fi movies. Now it has become a reality. And for man to understand the reality, he has to understand we cannot carry the man in every cell of heart, the brain, the suitcase you carry. But we put man in a package of fields. We compress it to the light dimension. We stretch it to the point that it can accommodate the totality as an energy. And at the point of arrival, we reverse the condition, or we allow the point of arrival condition to dictate the manifestation. The structure of the light has a totally different meaning in the world of creation. We start teaching these as now we reach the point of maturity of the knowledge, to the extent that man can see more and nothing becomes magic. Transmutation of the energy to energy of the emotion and the soul is already on the table. We have seen the first results in past few days. We can enter in the field of plasma and change it to the dimension of the emotion within the body of the man. The same, this transmutation can be made in a point of transportation where we understand what our soul will do on the point of arrival. Do we need to separate the soul or embed the soul of physicality within the soul of the man to transmute it? Or do we expand it in a new transportation systems that the soul itself become the light, as we've seen it? But why do we see the soul as a light? What's the reason for it? Why do we see a sun as a light? And what's the reason for it? Mankind has up to now looked at the structure of the light in a total different way, in a matter state. But what happened when we look at the light in the dimension of the soul, in the dimension of the transmutation, in the dimension of transportation? Then would your soul manifest itself in the dimension of the light at the point of the vision of the man, or at the strength of the soul of the creation? Would every other soul, which is observant of the transportation of the soul from one point to another, will see the light in a different color, different structure, different speed, depending if it's sublight or is above that light bandwidth? Would our soul and the soul of all those who live within the universe appears as one type of light? Or by the shape of the light, by the extension of the fields of its strength, we can say where that light comes from. Our soul recognizes it. Our soul understands its position, its strength, its emotion. We know this as we do it so often within the structure of the soul of the man, within the dimension of physicality of the emotion. In one instance, we get emotional. And in one instance, through emotion, we elevate our souls. We decide to change the physicality in one position, in 1 second, through emotion, we feel, I want to die. And we trigger that point through the light of the emotion, through the dimension of soul of physicality, and we create MS, ILS, and all other diseases. Then mankind has to understand the purpose of the light, the purpose of the transmutation beyond the dimension of the physicality. If you have not understood up to now, maybe you understand in a simple example. In your gas production systems, you change the matter to nano. And then in another condition of environment, you change it to a plasma. This is the same with the dimension of the light. In one strength, we change it to what we call transportation, transmutation. And in another strength, it becomes a photon. It becomes that which means I carry none, but I'm just the energy carrier. When it's a photon, it's when it's a carrier. And when the world of science understands this, man will choose a new mode, a new ways of transportation. Rockets and jumbo jets become obsolete, where the man will learn new ways to package or to send the message as an energy. Then what has been a fallacy that the speed of light is the ultimate speed becomes absolute nonsense. Because then you decide at what strength of the soul, at what strength of the light you want to transport and transmute according to the environment of the entity. Mankind needs a lot of kindness to understand how foolishly he has trapped himself in this world of light. And when the mankind understands that the purpose of the light is another mode of transportation, he will understand that he has a new tool, a new dimension, a new way to move, or a new way to package itself. You see the UFOs and you see them to appear as light. It's not only that they interact with the interaction of their fields with the environment, but they envelop themselves in a new dimension, a new package. Then they can travel the speed of the lights of the universe, which is totally different than light the man knows. If the man goes deeper in the strength of his soul, he will see the lights of the universe. He will understand the knowledge of the creation. But as we said, man is too physical. Man has chosen the dimension of physicality because it's much easier. I taste it, I touch it, I visualize it. Where the taste and the touch and visualization in the dimension of the light, in the dimension of the work of the universe, is much sweeter. It's much, much easier. It's much more applicable and does not need to destroy and dig core from the depth of this planet or use nuclear technology. Nuclear technology is the opening of the knowledge of the man to the universe. But nuclear in the dimension of the plasma is totally different. Maybe now we understand, as we said, in the new series of negotiations, we offer Iran the fastest centrifuge for plutonium, uranium as a gift, as a souvenir to the other nations. As we have unraveled the secret of the creation of the transportation and transmutation in the dimension of the light. That the children play with the toys, while the men create a new dimension of the knowledge and technology. In the coming time, mankind should be traveling the span of the universe, irrespective of wherever he could be, as he gains the knowledge to make himself the light at any point as he wishes to, and at the speed he wishes to. The fallacy of the weightlessness becomes the fallacy of understanding no knowledge. The true knowledge of creation, no subject, no object traveling at the speed of light ever exists the dimension of no control, what you call weightlessness. Mankind have not understood that he can create the inertial weight and mass, even at the speed of light. We can compress the collection of different strength lights to become one within each other, that they keep the stability of totality. In the new enhancement units for transportation and transmutation, that's what we do. We compress the fields to make a plasma into a cylinder. And then the dimension and the strength of the light will manifest itself. In the new enhancement system that you will see in this in coming time is very much the way the universe works. We don't see rotating condition in the body of the man as we see in the rotation of the object. When a plasma decides to rotate, to manifest itself in a dimension of the matter state like the sun, the light on its own is the creation of interaction of its fields with its own matter condition and the fields of the universe. When mankind travels in the dimension of the light of the universe, he shall not see any stars. He will not see any state of matter as is above. In a way, you're a neutrino. You become a neutrino, which means you become neutron on your own, but the strength of the neutron of the universe, not the strength of the neutron in the dimension of the earth. and this universe. Understanding the concept of the light is an amazing knowledge which will mature man to a new dimension. Will mature man to understand you can, even with the light of emotion, enlighten the whole of the universe, let alone the knowledge of a man. In so many ways, mankind will enter a new dimension of transportation and transmutation with the knowledge of the soul, which means at a higher order strength light, not at the light of the body of the man. When you manifest yourself, when you're seen as an object, as a human, you still are in the condition of the light of the physicality of the matter state strength of this planet. Even the soul of the physicality of the man can elevate itself to become the light itself without interaction with the soul. We can extend the field strength of the soul of physicality that we become invisible without the presence or interaction with the soul of the man, but in interaction with the environmental field energies of the light of the position and dimension. 1 minute you see me, 1 minute you don't. Because I transfer my strength to the dimension of the fields of the environment, that I become part of it. I become transparent through it. In a coming time, the knowledge of light will become the cornerstone of the evolution and gaining knowledge for the man, because we will learn the knowledge in the dimension of the light, in the dimension of emotion of the light. Each light, its position, its speed, its character, has the emotion of itself. Mankind in a coming time will learn to work within these structures. The first part of this process has already started, and it will go on for a time to come. In so many ways, mankind has to learn to work within the new dimension, within the new structure, within the understanding of the process of the creation and the creator. The soul of the creator does not reach the soul of the man through the engines and rockets, but through the light. The means of transportation within the dimension of magnetic fields. The means of transportation within the structure of the universe. In the body of the man, we carry the physicality of the man to be one point another, but we send the voice of the man to represent the man in the other. The voice of the man is what we call photon, when it carries the physicality of the man. But when he appears with the sound itself, is nothing but energy. In the time to come, mankind will learn the process of the conversion of one, or what we call fraction of one, to be both at the same time. The sound, the knowledge, and at the same time the physicality. We talk, we confirm our information and what we think. In the dimension of the light, a fraction of the light at a given time and position will be illuminated, that it transfers the knowledge, but the physicality of the structure will stay within what we call the particle. In a coming time, the knowledge of the position and time will be dictated by the emotion of the soul, by the emotion of the light, by the emotion of the interaction of the light with its dimension and position. How do we do this? How does mankind will lead itself to use its soul or the light as a means of transportation and transmutation than the physicality of the man? In the world of the science today, you put the physicality under the pressure and reduce its dimension. In the world of the creation of the light, you can do the same. But you have to understand that the pressure has to come from the willingness of both field and acceptance of both that accommodates one to the other. Which means you create a field strength through the soul of the physicality that allows the soul of the man to extend itself into the cylinder, that within that position will take the dimension of physicality within it as it increases its strength. In a way, we create a compression through the plasmatic magnetic field to allow a sphere to change into a cylinder. And mankind will learn that he can do this with the beauty of his soul, of his physicality. Which means we use the soul of physicality to create the fields that allows to engage itself and engage the soul of the man at the same time, but use the higher strength fields of the soul to create a dimension of light to transmute itself across the universe. Go back to the paper which we released, which was published by the Iranian Sabah on the 10th of February of this year. It says, with the new plasma technology of the Keshe Foundation, man will travel to moon in 1 minute. Which means the nuclear physicists and plasma physicists in Iran have already understood the concept and the principle. Now we have to teach this to the rest of humanity. Then you understand, on the 6th of June, for those scientists and organizations who have evolved to that knowledge level, they don't need 1 day return. They need 1 minute return to moon and back. The understanding of the concept, the understanding of the process of transmutation through the light, transportation through the light, understanding of the knowledge through the light, to be enlightened by the light will become the new, what are called territories for man to exploit, to understand how to convert every entity to a light or the soul or the essence of its field structure. That's what the light is. And then in interaction of these fields in the environment, besides the color, the shape, the knowledge, the entity, which that specific particle carries. In a way, we all can become neutrinos to the souls which do not understand our work, or the others can become the neutrinos to us, that at the point of interaction of the right fields, we can convert them into the soul of the physicality in that position and dimension. Go back to the teachings of some years ago, where I said, in the future, man will give his souls to the captains of the spaceships to transmute, and not the physicality. Then the soul of the captain transmutes and transports these souls within his souls as a separate entity, and at the point of arrival, like a messenger, like a postman delivers. And how that soul will take shape and dimension is on the structure of the field strength of the time and position. Mankind has to learn the compression of the fields of the plasma. Not the way it's done in CERN, the childish way. Remember, birds fly with birds, and foxes walk with foxes. When you work with plasma in the dimension of the transmutation and separation or the speed of light, you have to use the field compression of the plasma. You cannot use electromagnetic fields enforced with the current to compress a plasma which has a different dimension of fields. It's like using a bread to put a nail in the wood. does not work. It's got holes in it. It's got scientific data, what we call misunderstanding of and knowledge in it. This is why what we've seen with tokamaks and the CERN is full of flaws. It's a dream which will never come true to understand in more detail the work of the universe. When the scientists create a dynamic magnetic plasmatic field which can gain strength, then they can create the condition of the interaction and the fusion of the plasmas, which the planet Earth does on a daily basis when the energy packages of the upper atmosphere transforms and becomes matter state with interaction fields of the inertia of the matter state. Our scientists have not understood this. We see the same thing in CERN. They are using electromagnetic fields, which is the weakest, and they're trying to compress to create this because they see some pushes and some speeds, they think they gain something. But they haven't understood to create the condition of the transmutation and transportation and even separation of plasma, you need to use appropriate plasmatic fields. Then man enters a new dimension of science and technology of the universe. How do you want to push a truck with a baby in Pampers? The strength is not there because the concept has not been understood. And this is exactly what we see in the present nuclear science technology and in what we call the rest of the rigma. We've seen how plasma is used and how mankind is trying to achieve something which is actually going backwards than going forward. In the coming time, in the transportation and transmutation systems, which you will see, we teach you how to create the dimension of plasmatic compression that allows to interact in a correct way with the plasma of the soul of the man, with the plasma of the soul of physicality of the man, with the plasma of the every gans cell of the body of the man, that it allows the transportation and transmutation. How do we package it? How do we envelope it? How do we seal it that it doesn't leak from one point to another and we don't get half of the entity dispersed across the universe what was traveling? This is the knowledge that the man needs to gain in a very rapid way, as we cannot wait for the next process. Then we understand the new light, the new interaction of the light, the new understanding of the transportation of the light depends on how rapid he will be able to understand the work of the plasmas of different strengths. Then, if you reach, as we said many times, to go to inner strength sanctum of the plasma, then you can even travel at the speed of the light of the Creator. This is part of what has not been understood, and this is a part of the gathering of knowledge from man over thousands of years, millions of years in bits and bits. Now we put the knowledge together in Mongol, that in the space, man directly will have the knowledge of transportation and transmutation at the same time, at the same place, in understanding the totality of the interaction of the fields of different strength, different position and time in the universe. So, what is the light to you? And what is the light to me? And how well are we enlightened? Would mankind be able to create a plasmatic compression that leads to the compression and release of the soul? Or would we create systems that by transformation and transmutation of the fields of the matter state in the gas state, we create the impression and compression of the emotion. That with it, we can reach the soul. And with it, if we interact deep enough, we can interact with the soul of the others. In a way, we used to go into the telephone box and pick a phone up to speak to somebody across the world. Would that be that our physical dimension which becomes that telephone box? And with it, through it, we can transmute and transport and create a light to reach the soul of every entity across this universe without ever leaving the physical dimension. But how much can we transfer energies in the light dimension to our soul that the soul carries and creates the dimension of the communication and field strength? The problem with us is that we have encaged this, what we call plasma, in a cage with a lot of holes. And we have not managed to engage it and encage it in totality, that we decide how and where, in which hole it will transmute and transport itself. I want to see my son in the other galaxy. I need to create the dimension of the strength of his soul. The dimension of the strength and the position and a given time does not matter if he's in a physical dimension or he has already taken shape in the dimension of the plasma of the universe. Mankind, in a very short time, will come to understand the new technology of the space and technology. Understanding the science of the creation of plasma. Understanding the control of the plasmatic fields of his own soul. And in that process, mankind will mature to understand and see the light of the Creator. We have no choice. Once we enter into the cylindrical condition of the mode of the transportation, we become part of the system. We become part of what we call a structure that within it and through it, we shall see everything. And the knowledge become universal knowledge. And then mankind does not need universities and colleges to educate itself in a matter state level as he becomes knowledgeable to the knowledge of the universe. And then you understand, as I said many times, I made man in the image of myself. I am the image, and the man is the creator. And then man is the image, I am the creator. In that process, mankind will understand how, as a light, as a photon, as a particle, he is everything as the creator has been. It's just that he did not have the knowledge to understand that it's him within him. In the coming time, in the process of the evolution of the science into the dimension of the plasma, many of you will wonder why and how for so long mankind got embedded in this dogma of physicality. How did we manage to devalue our knowledge of the universe to the knowledge of the matter? And now we're trying to go back into the knowledge of the universe. Where did we lose the link? Where did we lose the knowledge? And why did we have to go through this process to become? Or are we a new creatures created out of the knowledge that in that process we have to learn the new understanding? This is not new, but new for us. It's become as part of the education and knowledge of the man in a dimension of the creation and the creator, where both sits within the same. Now, how many of you, including the teachings of past 3-4 weeks, can create that compression and create the new dimension in the the structure of the light. Go back and look at all the new ganses and new ways of the structure I have taught you in past 2 or 3 weeks with different connections, and see what have you missed. And see how you can use those to become the creator of the light. And see if you can create a light which is the strength of your soul, that in that process allows you to become the photon and not the particle. And in time to come, you become the particle, not the photon. The whole teaching of past few weeks leads you to one direction, to the direction of understanding not only to be one, and how to transport and transmute to another and become another or the same. As I said, it's book 1. You go from the matter state through the light to become the plasma, to become the soul. Or you come from book 3, which is the soul, transmute through the light to become the matter. The whole process is you in where you're sitting. On the book number 1, you want to go to the book number 2, or through book number 3, or the same from 3 to 2 to 1. In either case, you need the light. In either case, mankind should have understood when we released the books, it was the principle of the knowledge of the transportation of the universe, and not light as you see it as a daylight. It was introducing the process of the transmutation and transportation in the universe, where man manages to transform his field of matter state into a plasma, as a gans, and engage it and make it as one particle and transfer to the other dimension of total energy in that process, which we call the plasma, the universe. In understanding this process, now we go back to the same thing. Now you understand why the 3 books were released. Every knowledge of the creation is within it. It depends on the level of understanding. As what we said, you take according to your understanding from this technology. And those of you who want to go to the dimension of transportation and transmutation through the light, look in within. Look in with understanding the principle of the interaction of the fields and not the matter state. It's the fields which creates the plasma. It's the fields which creates that cage. It's the fields which creates the condition of matter state. It's you who have to understand in what field of strength you want to be, or to travel with, or to manifest yourself, or to be at the energy level. The process of the teaching has become very simple. The hardest thing is for the knowledge seekers to understand how to gather these energies together to be able to be in the dimension of the soul, or what we call energy, or the dimension of physicality, what we call the matter state, or plasmatic state of gans, or to be in the dimension of traveling from one to the other. But the beauty of it is that you can live within all the 3 states at the same time, in the same place. It's for you to understand how to unravel the mystery of change, the strength, and the composition of the fields. Now we understand that mankind is ready for the next phase of its life, not in the dimension of the donkeys and the carts and the cars and the jet engine and rocket propulsion, but in the one understanding of totality of the transportation through the interaction of the fields of the universe in the plasma condition. This is a new tool of transportation for mankind. And he has to understand it. He needs to understand it to become that neutrino that manifests itself anywhere in the universe where it needs to release its fields in respect to its environment to manifest itself. Maybe our knowledge seekers understand more. Those of you who are enlightened to this dimension will comprehend more where the teachings are going and what is expected of you. With this technology, all lights will be the same, and we shall not see a false claims of a leadership or a kingship to the other, as all the lights are the same. And in that process, maybe mankind become ready to enter the next phase after what he up to now understood to be the point of the Creator, as there is more in the dimension of the creation than the Creator. And one day, man will enter that dimension and then will open his eyes to a bigger dimension to understand the totality of the creation, and will see the whole of creation in the eye of the plasma, in the eye of the creation of the field strength, and understands even the life of the Creator. The fields which led to its creation, and the reasons for its creation that they led to our creation as interaction of its fields. But mankind is not at that point of understanding at this point in time. But we open the door for him to understand that in the future there is more to knowledge and life beyond the life of the Creator. But mankind is not knowledgeable yet, and is too in dogma of its own way of belief through different religions, and to understand that even the Creator has the emotion of religion, if you call it that. Which means there is a bigger dimension in the dimension of the existence. I made man in the image of myself. The emotion of belonging, to be part of, exists within even the Creator. Then mankind will come to understand there is a long way to understand the totality of the knowledge of the universe and creation. Maybe one day I will explain that to those of the knowledge seekers who have reached the point of understanding that there is a life even bigger than one the man called the life of the Creator, the God. Has been hidden from the eye of them, as man even had a problem to understand there is only one God. Now we try to explain the next step, it will become very much different. It's in the writing of the 7 valleys. Mankind has not even entered the first valley, let alone wanting to understand what is beyond the first valley, that it needs understanding of the totality of the knowledge of the creation of the Creator. And that all lies within the strength of the light, transmutation with a dimension of higher strength within the creation and the Creator. One day I might explain. But I hope at that time, mankind will be ready to understand the truth about the Creator of the aspect to its creation. We called it the book number 8, the origin of the magnetic fields, which its origin goes beyond the understanding of the fields of the creation of the Creator. One day, the whole of universe will come to understand that its creation was to manifest itself to another Creator and to be part of. And in a way, even the universe becomes part of a bigger structure that it has been constructed out of. So what we see as the total energy of all this universe and universes is a speck of dust in the totality of the condition of the creation, where the totality embeds within it the knowledge of understanding, emotion, at a higher level. beyond the present understanding of even the citizens of the universe. Maybe one day mankind become mature to reach to that point that he can go from the first to the second, very much as man is trying to get out of this earth just to peep through and be able to live within the solar system, as at the moment he cannot even imagine he can live in the galaxies and universes, and find himself lost, as he cannot carry enough food and enough oxygen to even to get to moon and back. When you live in the dimension of the fields, there shall be never shortage of anything, as you can tap into the universal fields of different strength, different structures, and different understanding. I hope today I open your eyes to a new world of existence, new world of transportation, and a new understanding of the creation, and a new way that in a coming time, many of you will start to think, to travel, and to exist. You will see the first series of the transmutation systems in lengths, and these systems become historical, as many of you and the knowledge of the man in collaboration and conjunction with the citizens of the universe will bring new understanding to everything that man thought he has understood up to now, and has become what we call the most intelligent being on this planet. Maybe the trees understood these long before the man does, but they never confess to that knowledge. Maybe the animals in the dimension understood the source of creation more than man does with his words and his actions. Now, from now on, we have to understand, we consider the light as a process of transportation. We understand the light as a system of transportation, and we try to develop, as man is his habit, technologies to be able to replicate the process of the movement, creation, and the deposition of this energy we call light. In the coming time, we introduce much more in depth the process of it. But you have to remember one point. In all factors, in all divisions, the light, even the light has a heartbeat. Even the light possesses the condition of understanding, of synchronizing his work in between his gravitational and magnetic field balance that leads to creation of his existence, and by tuning to the heartbeat of the time and position, will become that entity at that time and position anywhere in the universe. Then the heartbeat of the plasma dictates the heartbeat of the man, and then it dictates the manifestation of the presence of the man. And when the heartbeat of the man stops, the man stops at the point of death. Then maybe you understand why everything depends on the creation and control of understanding the rhythmic interaction at any point, and the strength of the fields of the magnetical and gravitational in respect to each other. What I receive and what I give as a check mark and checkbook at every strength. And at that strength point, I decide the point of manifestation. I hope I taught you a lot today. I hope you understood a lot today. I hope mankind will come to understand as of today a new method of transportation is open to man, and the systems for it is under development within the Keshe Foundation research centers. In the coming time, we'll show you, we'll make you packages of fields, and we transmute you in a field of strength, not as a suitcase, as a skin, or as a clothing on the body of the man. Thank you very much for today. The knowledge given to you today is much more than ever mankind could imagine, could understand. but in so many ways needs a man to understand the knowledge. Otherwise, it's another fairy tale. It's another thing that is for the others and not for me. And if you are knowledge seekers here, this is the reason you are here, and it's for you, and you have to understand. If you are here to become the passengers of the universe, to live without suffering, to understand the emotion of the soul that does not create the failure of the physicality. Thank you very much, Rick. If you would like to go on a break, and we'll come back. And hopefully our knowledge seekers concentrate on this and asking for whatever this and that. Would you like to go on a break, Rick?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, we'll take a short break here and short commercial break as we look at some of the ads from the Keshe Foundation store. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, we're back again at the 396th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 2nd, 2021. Mr. Keshe, how would you like to proceed in the second part here?
As usual, let's see what knowledge seekers understood and what they want to know more.
Okay. Remind the attendees here in the Zoom chat, they can open their microphones by raising their hands and we can open the mic for you. And just have a look at the questions here. Well, the first question was from Stefania, and you were talking about traveling in space, and the question is, shooting stars are the way we will travel in space? Shooting stars are meteorites, so I don't think we'll
In a
travel
way,
very
if
far.
you look at it, sorry about that, if you look at it, if you become that, what we call particle, somewhere in the universe, we will come across higher order energy that in the interaction of it will become that shooting star, will manifest itself as a light in that environment of the order of the strength of it in that position and time. And yes, we become a shooting star, but in what strength, in what capacity, in what understanding? And this is what is important to all of us. We are that as a soul, that package of energy which is traveling the span of the universe. And then when we find a dimension which is a point of interaction and manifestation of us, will become that shooting star in that position and time. But would we evaporate as a light and energy in there, or would we have enough knowledge that it becomes point of conversion for us at that energy in the inertial position of the time and the space to manifest ourselves in a visible dimension of that position that becomes our manifestation? We are all that shooting star once we take in the dimension of the soul. It depends in which environment we will manifest ourselves, we'll show ourselves, to what strength and what purpose. So, yes, we're all shooting stars, without a doubt, but depends where and how we want to manifest ourselves. If you've been with me, people near me, I've shown this many times. And even in a very recent past, I can show you shooting a star on the same position from two different dimensions and directions, which is one of the impossibilities. Because it's the energy of my soul which creates that manifestation, not the presence of another entity or particle. Usually, when we see shooting stars, they all come in the same direction, depending on their entry and on their position. But if you have been around me, I can show you shooting stars entering from exactly 90 degrees, 180 degrees from each other. Because it's not the matter state which interacts with the atmosphere of this planet that it creates a shooting star. The shooting star is created out of the energy which I release to manifest itself at the point of the observation. You got to understand how long and what should take place that a piece of a stone enters in an atmospheric condition at a given point when you wish and you're talking to someone and say, do you want to see a shooting star? This is even not understood by our knowledge seekers who've been around me, and many of them have seen this. I create shooting star by will, and they see it. Not only one, 3 or 4 or 5 people see it at the same time. And I create shooting stars coming from 2 different dimensions in the same environment. Because it's the energy packs which I release to create that shooting star at that point and dimension through the soul, not through the dimension of physicality. So we all can become that shooting star depending on where and how we wish to manifest and in a way touch the soul of the observer or the soul of ourselves to understand more of creation. So yes, we are. When we become soul, we have no matter state, but we are in a dimension of physical. And when the 2 plasmas interact, the creation of light from them is the light we see today as a daylight. That is the self. That in its own is a kind of the what we call shooting star. To the eye of the observer from outside, Earth is a shooting star interacting with the fields of the magnetic fields of the sun. We are burning to it. We interact with it. Even though we are made out of it ourselves, is our creator of the condition and dimension we are in ourselves. You look at the shooting star as a light which enters and you see it. But if you stand outside and look, Earth is a shooting star in the atmospheric condition of the solar system. We're still burning. We're still moving forward. We're still getting pulled in. And in that process, our fields, our magnetic fields, in interaction with these magnetic fields, create a daylight. Our daylight is what you see in the dimension of the universe as that shooting star head moving forward. It's just that we never consider these things. We just look at it in a matter state, and that's it. When we see the light or something enters our atmosphere, we have entered, even though we are created by the sun itself, into the atmosphere of the sun. So we are a shooting star, and it's the same with our soul. Our soul, in the dimension of the interaction with other field strength, will become that shining, what we call shooting star. Maybe we understand a little bit more. Maybe go outside and see at will. You can create the shooting stars that others can see. Then it brings joy to their soul and their emotion. Then you have entered a new dimension of creation and created. Many knowledge seekers around me have seen many times. I was walking with one, I created one. I said, do you want to see the second one? He said, yes, there is a second one. In walking with a few of knowledge seekers, I said to them, you will see 10 shooting stars tonight. And we counted. It's understanding that through the emission from your soul, you create these lights, that it brings joy to the soul of those who are the observers, enlightens them, and eliminates their knowledge and their life. I've shown this a few times to knowledge seekers are very close. I can create as many shooting stars that many people around can see, not just observe one. I can move from one position to another and say, now you can see at this position. Because the environment, the condition is perfect for creation of such an interaction of the field of the soul. In a way, the light you see is the light of my soul, not another entity entering the atmosphere there. But it brings you joy. And this is the power of the message of the Creator. And we carry the message of knowledge, not becoming another prophet. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe. We have a couple of hands up here. So let's see, we have Francis, Portugal. If you would like to go ahead first, and then we have Ed. I think, oh, I see, he's written in the chat, and he has about a tumor and operation and alternatives to these procedures and so on. Give him the email address for the medical issues. Or do you want to address something like that, Mr. Keshe?
I'm trying to read what's in the chat. We don't answer these things, and it has to go through private channels of the teaching of the Keshe Foundation. We never respond to medical in these teachings. Any other question?
I'll put the link into the chat there for spaceshipinstitute.org, which is for illness-related inquiries. Okay, thank you. Ed, would you like to go ahead next?
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Thank you so much for your teaching this morning. They get ever more mind expanding. I would like to understand, I'm trying to understand a little bit more about compression of the fields. The way I ascertain it is that for fields to interact with one another, they need to be of the same or similar strength. So they need to interact with one another in such a way, and the only way I can think of compressing the fields, using the fields, would be to increase the gravitational field forces. Is this anywhere near being on the right track?
You're as close as you are on the moon. Again, in the dimension of the plasma, you have to understand interaction. When we speak about the plasma, it's a spectrum of fields. When we speak about gravity, it's a spectrum of fields which are radiated inwards from the pull of the entity itself. When we talk about gravity, even at the light, speed of light, is you cannot gravitate unless there is something which pulls you in. I cannot pull you to myself if I don't have your hand or a rope with you or something attached to it that I can pull you to. And this is part of the knowledge which we will teach in the coming time. What is that hand that it pulls a field to itself? What is that mysterious knowledge the man does not have that you call it gravity? I cannot pull you to me if I do not create a line of connection, if I don't put a hand out, if I don't throw you a rope. How do you create that rope, that link of connection in a plasmatic field? Where does it come from? And how is it that it has a full spectrum and a strength of every entity within its creation? simple reverse gravitational field is on the back of book number 3. I'll put that in there deliberately. That one day we will explain this when the man has matured to understand the totality. If you look at the back page of book number 3, the back of it, you will understand half of the mystery of the gravity. Nobody has understood this. No one up to now has understood why we put this picture here. In a more detailed explanation of it, you go to picture 31 on page 187 of book 3, and you will understand more about the process of creation of gravity. And if you want to understand in principle how the whole structure of the creation works with the creation of gravity, you need to literally go in much deeper understanding and a fulfillment of knowledge, I call it. And see how the entities come to exist and how they finish. Read chapter 14 of the book number 3. How will it end? How you go from one plasma to another, how you lead to the creation of one to the other. And in that process, what is the outcome? What is the strength that leads to creation of the poles, the understanding? And to what extent does light manifest itself? Go on to page 1, which is picture 21 of book 3, and you understand the creation of the light. And even being so enlightened, how you still have that condition of the black hole within, even though we have a center within. In the books, we try to explain many of these things in a very simple way that could be understood, could be expanded upon, that knowledge seekers in the future can understand how gravity is created. Go to book page figure 13, and you should be able to understand the creation of gravity from the pictures. You always look at what is given. Look, while you're giving, what you're creating to take as well. In figure 13a, you completely understand. While you look at it, the fields are expanding out, but the lines are backwards. These are the gravitational pulls that exist within the magnetical field of every strength. The way we chose and we drew the pictures was in the future we could explain more in detail when knowledge seekers become more knowledgeable. You call it the gravity, but how does it pull, and why does it only end up in that position and not the other? And how come you have so many gravitational fields at the same time running at different strengths? We have a gravitational field forces within the structure of the cell of our body. At the same time, we have a gravitational field forces from the same cell to the gravitational field of the Earth. That's why it keeps its position in that condition. And then we have gravitational field forces in respect to the sun, and then to the galaxy, even every single cell of our body. Otherwise, it will not be in that position. You will not have that cell in the position of your heart. Is a balancing act between all the fields of the universe, which can affect the position, time, and space. So what is, and how do we connect to all these? How do we get pulled by all these towards it? And this is part of the structure of the light. Do we connect as a photon, but we exist as a particle? And do we produce many different photons of different strength to keep in touch? It's like tentacles of the octopus to see which one we grab, and when we grab and we find contact, we attach to. The knowledge is much deeper than looking at it in a very simple way.
I understand that a little bit, I think, but without getting off the subject, back to the compression of the fields, is it the gravitational field forces that causes the compression, or
no,
it's not?
It's a magnetical in the same strength of the gravitation. When you lock in to compress, you have to have the knowledge of when you compress what you have to take out, that the thing doesn't crush or doesn't explode.
Okay.
You understand?
No, but I was trying to understand that. I mean, if it's not the gravitational field forces, it's the magnetical. So it's the interaction.
No. Let's put it the right way. Is a magnetical of the outside, is gravitational of inside.
Okay.
That they have to link up.
Okay. All right. So it's an interaction of the fields. It's not like a pressure that's created.
It's not interaction, it's interconnection. It's totally different. They have to connect up at a given strength and
that's
find
why they have
a way, yes, find a way that they can create a balance within itself, but knowing the limitation of. Well, it takes time to understand.
I think that's as far as I can go right now.
we create a condition of the field. Look at it this way. When we use the gases on the body of the man, what do? You put the gases and you say there is no interaction. We had this with some pain pens. People say we don't feel anything, because I could immediately relate to it that when it was produced in the production line, they forgot to add the amino acid to it. It's not that the system doesn't work, it's that in the process there is one ingredient missing. Because it's important to create that link, otherwise you are there but you don't interact. This is why, for example, when you use copper 1, we always tell you use the amino acid. Take the amino acid out first, and then wash your gases, and then add the amino acid to it. Because you take the line of connection out. To somebody who takes a pain pen says it doesn't work, it's very simple. It's not that it doesn't work. In the production, they have forgotten to add the link connection. You understand? When you don't have a link connection, how do you expect to connect? And it's the same. You can create all the fields, but if you don't create a connection to moon, you cannot travel to moon. But moon has a specific characteristics of its own that we can specifically tune into and make a link. Creating or measuring and understanding that link is important. That through that link you can pull or you can push. Depends on which side of the fence you sit.
I've always understood the gravity from the standpoint of magnetism. You know, we've been taught about magnetism of iron
No,
and stuff, and I knew that.
let me tell you one thing. Try to understand the gravity from the point of plasmatism, not magnetism. Then life becomes much easier. Life becomes much easier.
Well, the point I was trying to get to was that the gravity of the Earth is just much more comprehensive in that it I think you mentioned this earlier in your teaching today, that it interacts with the things that it has created. There's a link there, and everything it links to, it interacts with gravitationally. But I can imagine that there are other things outside of our solar system or our universe that it would not interact with unless there's a deeper level that it interacts with, because it came from the same creation.
It doesn't become deeper. It becomes of a given strength. I explained this once before. You get a giant, and if a little boy finds the right position and right strength, can bring a giant down, where the most strongest man cannot do so. It's just finding that line of the breaking through, that line of distorting the line to be linked to. We get the field of the moon on a continuous basis interacting with the fields of the planet, which are in a liquid condition. What I put this forward years ago, and that is, have we measured the strength of the pull of the planet Earth, the solid part, in respect to the moon? How much of it does it pull? Or is it only the waters which get affected by the field strength of the moon? When we did a test for a field absorption, we saw the change between 5 and 7 o'clock in the evening, and on about 5 and 7 o'clock in the morning. And the rest of the time in between stays more or less constant. Try to weigh yourself 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and 10 o'clock in the morning, and see how much your weight changes. On the same scale. Allow 100 grams per hour for loss of energy to environment. Every one of us on the man part of the human being or women different uses 100 grams of energy, weight, as energy in one form or another per day on average. This is what they tell you, you need 2,000 calories, or really 2,500 calories, which is roughly about 80 to 100 grams a day. If you don't eat anything for one session and you weigh yourself, more or less every hour you reduce your weight between 80 and 100 grams. But in that process, where does the energy go? And how do we interact, or can we use it to interact with the environment? It's these energies which we need to understand, that is given and used for the body to exist. And where in this spectrum is the energy where it can connect to the moon? We've done a lot of these experiments, and it's fascinating to understand how much we have never understood.
Thank you.
We had a related question in the YouTube from 432 Hertz Company Q, who says, hi, if the plasma water is frozen, then it's super duper compressed. Would it become magnetic?
What?
Basically, he's saying if the plasma water is frozen and then it's compressed really to extreme levels, would it become magnetic?
Would it manifest and compress by what? That's the point we have to understand. Compress and manifest by what? Fields or matter compression?
Yes, indeed. We normally think of a hydraulic ram or some kind of matter-based way of compressing, trying to compress water, which is basically not compressible in some ways, but it can still have the pressure.
Yeah.
So I suppose we would ask what purpose he would have in making that water magnetic to start with, and it might have something to do with the process that you might use.
That will bring a change, doesn't it? It's just the way we've been taught. We always think in a matter state. Any other question?
Okay, we have one from the Plasma School Library, Australia, in the YouTube. Would you please explain?
Lisa?
Yes, that's code name for Lisa.
Yep.
Could you please explain from a plasma perspective how a psychopath is created? The lack of emotional connection and empathy seems to be an abnormal state for most humans.
You got to understand, this is a very, very specific definition of psychopath. Is a psychopath towards everyone or just specific people? Does a psychopath in a different environment looks normal? Or is it just in respect to one or two people? So we understand a psychopath is a state of control of emotion towards behavior, given behavior. We've seen this many times. Somebody sits in front of you with 2 or 3 people, turns on one side to one person and behaves psychopathically, and the other side so generous and kind. And the kind one never sees it. that how psychopathy is in respect to another. So what we call a psychopath is very much emotion control direction. And you got to understand what triggers this towards a given condition and interaction. We've seen many times. I've been in many positions like this when I sit and watch a person smiles and laughs with others, turns on and become as nasty and ruthless as could ever be. So psychopathic condition is a state of mind control of the emotion in respect to the receiver. It's very much like a serial killers. They kill a specific position and condition because that is what triggers it. Or we've seen it in case of child abuse. Each of these people are triggered by certain age and bracket of structure. These are mainly state of mind and emotion condition. To me, one person is not a psychopath all the time to everyone. To the others could be angel, and to you is a devil. Or could be somebody who's an angel to you is devil and psychopath to the others. So it's a state of mind control and interaction. By the way, while we have this from the plasma people from Austria, the Australian group stores and products will be soon in the next couple of weeks linked to the Keshe Foundation main storeroom and the book in Amazon. So a lot of us who were not aware of it will be able to order products from Australian Keshe Foundation or directly through the main channel of the Keshe Foundation. But still the website in Australia stays open for the Australians who want to buy the products locally in Australia. So as we said, we add more and more products through the Keshe Foundation, other channels and knowledge seekers. This is some of them which now we'll see. And very shortly we'll have Mexico. We'll posting new products from the Mexican side, the way we do from China. So next week or two, be ready to see new products, few new products which come from Australia. They will be supplied by the Keshe Foundation Australia in the stores. And the 3 books which has been done by them will be up for sale on the Keshe Foundation website and on the Amazon side of the Keshe Foundation. Any other?
And we had a kind of I guess you would say a request from Salamia in the Q&A here, who asked, could you come and explain to the Bragadiru team from Romania this next Sunday at 1800 CET? And she says, I will explain myself to them, but you have the knowledge. They want to communicate and transport with the help of plasma. This is their project. Can you help them? Then she does say that it could be on, what is it here? She says it could be Sunday or Friday evening, up to Mr. Keshe to choose the day and hour. Hate to put you on the spot, Mr. Keshe, but that was the question.
I don't know where I'll be at that time and the place. We support a very big group in teaching or whatever we can. They attended the conference in Bucharest last months ago. And they have to endeavor to see what there are a bunch of very enthusiastic, very hardworking Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers, and they come up with some brilliant ideas. Try to see if we can attend.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we've got Andrew, who asks, Rick, can you ask, will we travel in the form of a smoke ring? That's what I always think when I blow one. It's a very interesting shape as it travels. And I'm reminded that in the book of the light that you published, there's pictures that show, as you mentioned earlier, the way light travels in a cylinder, and that it basically moves like a cylinder, but sort of like a smoke ring, with the inner part moving forward and sort of folding back on itself in a way. Is that kind of a way to understand that?
If that makes you knowledgeable, why not?
It's like an elongated toroid, you could say, elongated sort of donut in a way.
You always need the back pressure, gravitational fields, and the magnetical front pressure to be able to create the condition of motion. In a plasmatic condition, in an aircraft today, the front nose is always a front nose and nothing changes. But in dynamic plasma, you have the front continuously in interaction with the fields of its environment, losing the strength and getting pulled back to the back end, and then gaining strength in the process and moving forward, again becoming the front.
Yeah, that's the way the smoke ring moves too.
Yeah, but it is very much on how and what condition of the helix effect the fields of the internal fields of the plasma, of the light, creates itself, because it's dynamic. And this is one of the dilemmas of the transportation and transmutation, that we hold position and we don't get the cell of the toe coming to the head and going back down again. So these are part of the work and the processes of the interaction of the fields in the plasma condition.
Yeah, it's hard to comprehend how one would keep it together in the middle of a toroid, basically, where there's so much change change in direction and accelerations going on and so on looking at it as a matter level sort of thing.
This is why we speak about the envelope. We create a dynamic envelope where the inside doesn't matter what happens inside, as it is, it stays constant. We have this envelope as the skin of the man in the atmospheric condition. Whatever happens inside, liver works, kidney works, heart works, but the skin keeps that shell, that inside is separate than outside. It creates a different vacuum condition to be able to hold on to. And when in some cases, a vacuum condition cannot be held, we've seen people just explode. Literally, cellular explosion happens more or less on the point of death to many of us in the coffin. We go through that. It's not just gases, it's a cellular explosion which convert the plasmas convert into, and we open a coffin, there is nothing left but the skin and bone, but no animal has been there. Our cells' energy converts and explodes into energy patterns of the fields of the plasma, and they leak through the body of the coffin. We understand the process in a different way. We look at the process in a different way. This is why in the path of belief of Zoroaster, they leave the body in the exposure open, that it releases its fields, even in the physical dimension, to the other structures. Where we in others, we put them in boxes and we wrap them or whatever, and we hope, but all the energies are released in that dimension of the plasma. Something which hasn't been done by the world of science is that if in the future, now we open knowledge and one day somebody might decide to do research on it, if we take a composition of a grave of all the materials before we place a body in it, and then over time analyze the structure of the materials around the grave. Doesn't matter 10 meters underground or 2 meters underground, and see how the material composition changes by receiving the fields. And then we can even understand the emotion of the man from the composition. Was it happy to be released of the physical dimension? Or do you still want to stay in the physical dimension? We leave an impression within our environment, and within that environment, there are living entities which can carry the information. And then mankind will become more knowledgeable about the cycle of life. In a way, what happens when you're a shooting star and your energy dissipates into the atmosphere? Where does it go? Or does it become part of the energy of this planet? And if it matches that light, that field from the shooting star with the inertia at a given point in time, would the matter condition of that energy appear? And we see the what we call the fall down of the new materials on Earth, or within the structure of the Earth. It happens all the time. A shooting star leads to the creation of dust in respect to the environment and becomes matter by inertia. They've done these tests in the US and I think in Russia, if I'm not correctly remember, that if you don't wash your the roof of your house for 6 months, 12 months, and then go on it with a jet wash and wash it, but collect the water, and then analyze the dust you collected. There is huge amount of cosmic dust on your roof. And if you put a magnet in it, they've shown many scientists that you collect a lot of metals attached to it. This all comes from the daily interaction of the fields of the universe in interaction with the inertia of the matter state. And why most of them change into matter state of the iron, due to the gravitational fields of the Earth. And at the end, they enter this atmosphere as a shooting star, as a light. They never land. They become fields, and then again with inertia, we compose back to the matter state. Now we understand the knowledge, and if some of these fields is as a strength that maybe 10 kilometers down in the Earth converts to gold, that energy, you'll find gold in that position.
Mr. Keshe, we have another question from Salamia here, which many people have this question, and it seems to keep coming up, and perhaps you'll have a another answer. It's about light being both a wave and a particle. It's it's duality. And she mentions a photon is a carrier of light as a boson. And she says, she's asking, for you, is a photon similar with the wave aspect of light? And I think you've explained that you already talked about the photon and its nature and the nature of the light and how it changes according to its environment and so on.
Yes, but you got to realize sometimes photons, what you call wave or energies, in a given condition, due to gravitational point, they become particles themselves.
Mm.
We know that this is part of the structure of manifestation of entities in a given strength field. We have brought a fish tank in the Linz Exhibition Center. And in the coming time, we will show you the manifestation of the fish within this tank. It's deliberately brought here, but accidentally planned. And you will see with one drop, we'll create a fish. With one drop in that tank, we'll create a man. This is how we convert the energies from photon to matter state, cancer state, or plasma. This is what you do within the womb of the mother. You change the drop to light. There's no difference. Just because you can see now it's transparent and attack.
Mr. Keshe, we have a question from Jan in the YouTube. It's a question that's come up quite a few times, but it's always good to get your fresh answer on it. The question is, where exactly does the magnetic field turn to gravitational field, which is the same line of field?
As we said before, it's a point of observation, point of detection.
I thought you were going to say that. Thank you.
Knew that's what it is. That's in reality what it is. It never changes. Are you going to, or are you coming from? And are you coming to me, or are you going away from me? Which one is gravitational attracting you towards me? And then as you pass me, you become magnetic. It's the same car, same passengers. And can I use that field of coming to me to go back to where you were before, or get attracted to the point and the position and dimension? This is why I keep on emphasizing to start working with the fields, not the plasmas and gases. You'll understand more.
Mr. Keshe, it's Dean here in the background in Linz. Can I ask a question, please? Would that be okay?
Yes, why not?
So, Mr. Keshe, I've been having some interactions with the fields. I've placed some GANs waters and amino acids that were in a bucket. And I've had some interactions that seem to be with plants and animals, and interactions when I go into nature and other environments. that seem to, I seem to be experiencing like the soul of the light. I showed a picture with Rick in the Reactor group yesterday. And there seem to be getting many interactions that are corresponding with the teachings and everything you've been speaking about in these moments. So do the GANS waters and the fields interact with us in each and every moment that we, once we interact with them ourselves and create these entities, these fields, the interaction is always there. Is the connection, is that link always there? Is it a permanent link, or does it come and go? And can we connect with it whenever we feel or need to? I suppose that'd be my question.
It's always there, and always will be there. And we cannot do much with it, and we cannot do much without it. But if they find, given the strength, they link up to us. And it becomes part of the interaction. But when we signature destiny, it will happen that way.
So, Mr. Keshe, so in Lynch, you've spoken about the units and things. If someone goes in the unit or is part of the unit, is it a thought process for them, or does the unit take the position to initiate the plasma exchange, the interaction, or is it a thought process from the entity, the individual that is within the system?
What do you mean?
So the systems that you're putting in place, will they be the link? Will they be the stronger force, the stronger field that will dictate where the entity goes, or will the entity that's inside the soul that's present, will that have a direct influence on its destination?
Could be. It all depends how and what the strength is and what the interaction shall be.
The interaction with many different planetary systems. So whether it was the moon, you said we can now interact and maybe go there instead of a day trip, it can be an hour trip. And through the knowledge that myself and many knowledge seekers have gathered, we understand that this is an instantaneous transformation at any point. So can you travel to not just the moon, but to Mars and other planetary systems in an instant and bring your body back into whether it would accept that condition in that environment? Is that a possibility that you can, if you had the envelope from one point to another point, you can exist still?
Possibly, yes. But again, it depends on the intention and what is to be achieved.
Many people, people from Earth seem to love their physicality, and still, as you know, as you speak about traveling by spaceship or by rockets and whatever. And we all know that many people are still locked into this physicality. So for them, they would still want to materialize or feel strength at the other point in a physical body. So would there be a need for a plasma dome around this person or entity so that they could experience the condition of that environment they choose to go to?
Can you explain what you mean?
So if somebody was to be on from the planet Earth, and we love this environment, and we are present on the Earth and enjoy the beauties of this environment, and we are Earth beings. We have this physicality that we've enjoyed, and we've become accustomed to this as you explain it, as this suit that we wear. But we enjoy this suit. So if we go to another position, let's take planet Zeus or Mars or somewhere, and you decide that you would like to retain this suit, would there be a position that you could have? I know you speak about spaceships and you'd be confined within that spaceship, but would there be a point where you could have a dome around the physicality so that you could interact with the environment still in a human form? Or would this be that it would be ridiculous to try to do this, and you'd be much better just traveling by your soul as you do?
We expect too much to do when we don't have the knowledge of. When we have the knowledge of, many of these questions won't exist.
It seems to be, Mr. Keshe, that many people, many of the teachers within the foundation are gathering a lot of knowledge, and they are finding through your teachings ways to actually be in certain positions. And the linked exhibition and many other locations around the planet will soon be able to showcase this information, this technology. And many of the general public and governments and everything will have a great interest in this once it is shown or experienced. So fundamentally, very big questions are being asked about, is it a physicality position that people can experience on other planets, or is it going to be that many will, to experience this, they would have to travel by their soul?
Mankind will learn there are two ways of enjoying the time and the space: by understanding and connecting to the fields of the knowledge, or trying to understand and do by presence of the soul. Both will bring the same result, but you have to find the dimension and the direction where you want to be in present, and what you want to learn and gather from it. So we do not need to travel to gain the emotion or the information. We just need to tap into the dimension of the soul which carries that information.
Mr. Keshe, we do this on a regular basis as a soul when we sleep each evening, or whenever someone takes the position of not for everybody, it's not always lying down, taking a horizontal position and going to sleep. Is this position required for a soul to travel, or can it do it in a vertical position as well?
The soul doesn't have a position. It rotates in this direct dimension, or interacts in this dimension. Just because you move doesn't mean the soul has changed its position and dimension. Its interaction is always in the same line. The earth doesn't change if it's 5, or what do you call it, when it changes, reverses its polarity. It's still the same. It's just how you create the links between all.
So our vertical friends that have this greater intelligence than us, why is it that they because of the gravity on this planet, they decided to grow vertically and extend their soul down. And this is the point where they are connecting with the soul of the earth and making that connection.
Actually, they don't connect with the soul of the earth as such. The main connection comes with the inertia of the position and time. Because that's why each one takes or become good in certain minerals and are grown in certain conditions or certain seasons. Is partially the interaction with the gravitational, but in essential, the soul is balanced between the both and the inertia of the environment. That's why some plants work in a alkaline and calcium-based environment and some in other conditions. This is something which the world of agriculture has never understood. And that's, if we understand it, we can create that condition of the field strength, and we can grow anything anywhere as long as we satisfy the soul of the plant.
So the direction of the plant and the field strength it has, we've been showing recently, and I've done it myself, where we would put some plasma into some frozen water, and those rays, that plasmatic field shows within the condition of the ice as rays, as points coming out of, into the structure of the ice. And would this be the same as a plant or animals that are growing to a position within a sphere of the planet, but the actual rays go out in all directions? It just happens to be from your point of observation, your point of view, where you are present?
It's very much the way some of our Chinese looking, some of us are black looking, some of us brown looking, some of us are white looking. Some plants are short, some are herbs, some are trees. We interact with the inertia of the condition and the emotion at the same time. And this is part of what we always, in the evolution of life, never considered. Our lives or manifestation of life in physical dimension is partially is gravitational field environment, partially is inertia, partially is emotion of the fields within the structure, which comes from the interaction of the physical dimension of the creation of inertia and what we call magra of the planet. A good example of it is how we change of season, trees die or drop their shed their leaves, and some plants decide not to awaken the next year once they go through the summer or the winter season. Why the same we see trees that they were full of life the year before, and when they go to sleep for the winter, they never wake up. We very seldom, unless the whole season all the time, or we don't water a plant, we cut its line of interaction with its environment, we see plants die during the loading season, whereas the summertime or the winter time which they live. And a life, a physical dimension life, even the human, is a combination of the interaction of the fields of Earth, interaction of the fields of the environment, interaction of the inertia of the matter state within the Earth, and interaction of the fields of the emotion. We create a man. Man can be any color. Then we give it a height and the color in respect to the environment interaction. And then we give it the fields of emotion, aggressive look, aggressive behavior, calm behavior, loving the behavior. Then that comes from the interaction of the fields of, and then it becomes the pattern of that, what we call environment. We say, all the ones from there are behaving like this, or are like this, or they look like this. We have not separated in our knowledge that the emotion has a direct effect on the manifestation. We always look at, even in the world of science, as part of the totality. But now that we are aware of the knowledge, we have to look at the totality as itself. As we talked about the Indians and the Pakistanis, how the path of belief have changed to the same blood in two totally different structure of the understanding and being. What creates that condition is the emotion, which itself is the interaction of the fields of the physicality with the fields of the soul of the man, and what the soul of the cells of the brain in that position would like to manifest or manifest out of their balance fields. It's not anymore a simple, I take a seed, I create the plant. I can create the emotion for the plant will grow anywhere irrespective of the place and time and position. We always create a greenhouse of environment. We haven't created a greenhouse of the emotion for the plants and see how they grow. We can create any environment that still grow. This is a lack of knowledge of understanding the totality. So how we enter in another dimension and how we feel in that dimension will dictate our feature, our manifestation, and our interaction.
So, Mr. Keshe, thank you for that. So the image on the screen right now, we see these beautiful plant pots, we say in England, we say in the UK, that are creating a field that are feeding the emotion of the plant. So that there may be a condition within this structure that would feed the physicality, but it's the emotion of that plant that's being fed the most. It is giving it its beauty to bloom, for so it can show its beauty to us. Is this the position that these products will achieve for this plant, for this entity?
It'll be very interesting to see if we put these plants in these pots this year. We buy it from outside and let them to grow here. And the way the gardeners will reproduce the next generation, see how the next generation will show itself. Would the flowers will be the same? Would be the leaves will be the same? Would they change the color and size? And why do plants create different colors of themselves? Different colored flowers. I might not like a red, but I make a blue one or a green one or an orange one that somebody else might like, and it gives me a better chance to appreciate and enjoy my existence. This is what we have asked from the agricultural side. We want to see what is the outcome of next cycle of the growing the seed, the emotion of the people who use it, in a way creating a new cycle of life without flaw, without short.
Mr. Keshe, if the plant has the balanced field, has the emotion balanced, and then from that position, the next seed or the next child receives that emotional balance as well, then this field strength gathers and grows and brings about a new position that is, for want of a better word, like an evolving position that then comes to a point where it would gain a certain field strength that would bring about transformation, would bring about elevation. What is the...
doesn't mean to be elevation, it could be evolution in a new way to live. It's a way to understand that this new environment is created, so we adapt ourselves to it. And how does it change? This will come very soon when most of the humanity will go through the phase of not eating anymore. What will happen to the number of the animals which we tame to eat, plants which we tame to consume, and now we are not consuming them? How do they control themselves? Or does one goes to the maximum to produce as much as possible and override everything else? Or would the plants and the creatures find a point of balance? I'm not eating you, but don't block my path and grow everywhere. Would they understand each other's motion? Would we see aggressive growth of one plant to take over everything, or they will come to see the need of the others? There's a lot to be learned from the interaction of the souls. A lot to be learned.
And Mr. Keshe, will so once we reach a certain position, will the interaction between if an entity, let's say a human, and a plant reach a balanced condition where the energy transfer between them both is of giving, what position will that be?
We already do that, but we're not aware of it. When we take her and we enjoy it, when we consume it, we connect a line of emotion to it, to its amino acid, to its existence. Scientists have shown emotional connection between people and plants very clearly, and how the plants respond. These are well documented. This is not, but now we have to look at the dimension of the reason that the emotional interaction is created, and what the strength and what's the cause of interaction, and how we can all interact, not just humans. What about the cow, which can walk the fields, but it doesn't need to eat anymore, and the grass can grow so much that it cannot go anywhere? Can he transfer his emotion to the grass that stay at the height that I can go through too? That we don't need to cut to destroy. Where we're going through the structure of the fields by transportation and transmutation, why does Earth, waters respond to moon so radically every day, every cycle? Does the moon carry a field strength in the strength of the amino acid of the life within the planet that they are connected to? There must be a line of connection. It's not just gravity. Gravity has to have a line of connection. What does it connect to that it creates such a movement, such absorption? But then to a certain strength, the gravitational earth pulls the matter back down. When the earth is on the wrong side, the field of the sun cannot interfere so much. Then the field of the moon, which are slightly different but of the same, it creates such a pull and push.
Is that why, Mr. Keshe, many people experience big shifts of in their physicality with the moon cycles? Is that connected to the man?
Should be somewhere, some part of it, yes. We have this in many ways, but we never connect. We never understand. We have it in the cycle of the month, cycle of the moon. Which part, where is the highest, where is the lowest? We have the same. You change the moon to a woman or a man, we go through the same cycle every month. Why is it cycled in such a way that it repeats itself? What decides the end of the cycle? What decides the beginning of the cycle?
Would other entities, creatures, souls, experience this as the cycle of
according to the cycle of life, we all experience it. Doesn't matter where we are. Man and the earth reacts to the moon. The others in other dimension react to their dimension and not necessarily to the moon or to the moon.
That field strength exists across. It's not just the planet here. So other environments experience the same fields, the same pull and push, no matter where you are. So there's a direct connection there with everything, where the field strength of that push-pull is within the structure of many different conditions across the universe.
We are all field interconnected, and this is what we have not understood. Every entity in the universe is field connected. Depends on what the strength you want to connect.
And you said there, Mr. Keshe, depends on what field strength you want to connect with. Yep. So that's the free will.
Sometimes you have a choice, sometimes you don't have a choice. You never have a choice who you fall in love with, because you don't know the strength of the love at that point and position. And 10 years later, oh shoot, how did I fall in love with this? Because the field strength has changed.
Thank you for those interactions, Mr. Keshe. Wonderful to speak with you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Keshe, Jalal had a short video he wanted to show at this point because it's kind of relevant to the plants and the vertical people. Perhaps we can play that. Seems okay. Would that be all right?
If you have seen it, why not? I think we know this gentleman. We hope.
Yeah, normally I run videos by you first, but you know how insistent Jalal can be.
He always asks his 2 questions and he gets his way with the 3rd one. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Jalal, you can speak there perhaps. Do you want me to play the audio, or do you want to annotate the audio as you go along?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mr. Keshe. This is a small video I video with my plants here, and let's see this soul what wanted to be. Do you have the audio with it? Or
Okay, I can play that. Sure, I can play the audio. Just a second. That's set up here. Just a minute.
you know, this one is here for about 5 weeks. I find this branch and I put it in this plasma. And you know what? Still the flowers nearly attached to it, but look here. It's a new branch is coming out. So tell me please. Who can do that? What is the source of this energy? Let's see next time what will happen, or the time to come. So if we see this plant, if it decided to continue with this position, what kind of flower it will come out now? It's a new one, and it's still living. I still see it in my place now, and it is more than now 40 days, and it's continuous. This shoot is growing without leaves, without roots, even without sun, and it is embedded in the water. And we know the orchidea, they do not like much watering, and it is there for more than 40 days. So if it decided to continue, what kind of flower we will get? And if we take the seed from it, what kind of flowers will we giving to the environment? What kind of emotions? And you know what, Mr. Cash? I didn't put any condition to it. I just take it from there. I was considered that it live only. So I put it there. And as you said so many times, when you make a nano coating, just put it, the nano coat, and go vacation. And I done the same thing. I put it there, and after 2 days, I went vacation for a month. And when I came back, I noticed it's still living, and the flowers is still little in a way fresh, and it have a new shoot going out. So did I decided that it live, or itself decided to be convert with this life? So today there's no question. So you see, I showed something.
Yeah, but the biggest question is, how can you do 40 days holidays nowadays?
Oh, you don't know.
That's what I was wondering too.
Would you like any assistant? We can work with you. At least we get 40 days holidays.
Yes, of course. You are welcome, Mr. Cash. But what kind of holiday, my dear? I have holiday from work at the company, but I didn't have holiday working with the knowledge seekers. We are working all the time.
Oh, well, that's good. At least we became a new headache for you. But you see, did you use any amino acid in the water? What kind of gases you put in?
This is a cup of the man.
Yes.
And normally when I wash the cup of the man, I use also the amino acid with it. So
you put some amino acid in it.
Yes.
So you have created that condition to the plant. The key to a lot of work when it comes to human interaction or animal interaction or plant interaction is to create that line of use. It's amino acid on top of the water. It's not just amino acid. It's a connection line between above and below. And when we don't have that connection line, how do you want to make the connection? And interesting enough, on this planet, due to combination of the material which you use without you knowing as an alloy of even copper, different strength copper, or different atomic structure copper, you created a composition of all the elements, and then one of those or some of those are at the strength of the plant, because it's the same amino acid. Now we know the connection between us and the universe. We know the connection between us and the plant life. So we know somewhere in the spectrum of these amino acids you see on top of the water, it's not just one type of amino acid, it's a composite. And so some of it has connected to the plant, and the plant connects to it and takes energy. But again, has a cycle of life. Would it stay for whole winter flowering? Or is it still as part of the genetic information, will have a time span of so much, and then you keep it, and then next year it become another flower? And why do the plants die? Why do they have a 1-year cycle? So you went on holiday, but the amino acid which you put in there has made the link. This is why in agriculture, a lot of people who do the test, they put a lot of ganses at the beginning and everything else. But actually, when it comes to the fruit part, when it comes to the end part, is the most important part to put amino acid and feed the plant. At the beginning, you attract a lot of it, but if you want a mature end, flower, wheat, whatever, the last part where the most amino acid is absorbed, which matures the plant. So you introduce an amino acid. Right there.
Mr. Keshe, in this respect, why we linked much more in grief than happiness to our position?
What?
Why we linked in from our emotion part? Why we linked more in grief than happiness?
Because you're born in Iraq and the Middle East. That's our nature. It shows we are very mature.
So,
live in England and other parts is just all fun whole day. Who wants to worry? You become a Jewish guy and you cannot moan. You don't spend any money on the dead, so you always spend happy. It's the culture which we are brought up.
Okay, this brings me a memory of what you taught us about this lady, which was in a position, and she left the body and she manifested itself in another part. She used this connecting from her position to another position. How? Using the emotion part?
It's the emotion we use. We don't want to be in that environment. You can have the physicality, I take the soul somewhere else, and I manifest myself somewhere.
Is it calling up in in a way the gravity of herself?
It's not the gravity, it's positioning in respect to somewhere else. She could have gone to the moon or Mars. There's nobody else. She doesn't know the environment, so she prefers to go somewhere maybe her soul always wanted to go, where she heard is where there is a freedom and no pain. It depends what we associate with. This is part of our total problem. Association and how we associate. We choose or we go through a pain structure. And if that pain doesn't exist, or we go through the system that we don't feel it, then we can be anywhere and do anything. And I've explained this before. When some years ago, I fell off a horse, I got up and I started walking when all the bones were broken. I felt no pain. I felt no pain, literally, till they brought me out of coma days later, and it was like a pneumonia infection in my lung. Otherwise, with my ribs broken, everything bleeding inside, I never felt the pain. Because I wasn't associating with pain. I know, I've said it many times, I got up and I knew the body is there, but it had to do something. It's what we call a pain, but it was what we call a pain threshold. Do we like to be in pain? Do we cut off a point and we say, this is it, as much as I can take? I start a new life and life becomes happy and you never remember the pain. We choose. We are the choosers. And we decide in what point we don't want to feel certain things. It's not becoming numb to it, is not accepting it to be. Next time you go on a 40 days holidays, please take us with you. We don't mind teaching while we are on holiday. I think Rick might agree with me more.
Okay, you are welcome. Next year, I will give you a call. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Rick, I think you and I, we are in the wrong business.
We have a note in the chat from Mehran, and she's asking to show the pictures of her orchids, which came to life. So I said I would ask you, do you want to see Mehran's pictures of orchids that came to life?
Yeah, orchids come to life all the time. We have a lot of them. If you remember when we opened the exhibition center in Linz, every table had a white orchid. We had to take these out, and some of them totally, literally died. And we have a beautiful guy in the office. He's what we call the mother for the plants. He brought a lot of them back to life, and I've seen them, some of them flowering. These are very resilient flowers. And we might see some of them back in the new exhibition. Go ahead, and then we can go. Is there any other question, or shall we call it a day?
There's a couple more questions. Now, Mehran, are you able to share? Do you mean you're going to share your pictures, like show your pictures, actually show them with a screen share? Or are you sending them in some way, me or somewhere else? Just going to allow you to talk there. Okay, go ahead, Mehran. You can speak now, I think.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much. It was just amazing. Very beautiful. college. In fact, I had an orchid. I can send a picture. It died, but I like to keep the green ones for some time. I can, and then after some time, I had a tube of CO2 or CO2 salt. I put inside it, and then I saw that there is the shoot coming from the middle and going in 90 degrees towards the side. And then they started to give flowers. Now I have an orchid which has 5 big flowers in the middle part, going to the left, right, and they are there with this tube of, I think it was CO2.
So can you share the picture?
Okay, tell me. I have the picture. I can share it with the Zoom. Is it what I should do?
Well, if you know how to share and it's not going to become a whole trauma for us to do it, yes.
I see the picture of Jalal still.
And do you want to share? That was my question.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank
and
you.
try not to share your desktop, just try to share the picture. That would be good.
Thank you very much. So that's my picture.
Jalal always make the
No,
bombs.
the picture's not there. The picture's not there, man.
No, it's not there exactly. So
No.
I send it with this. I get embarrassed a little bit. This kind of things. I send it now. I send it to the Zoom.
Send it to the Zoom.
Okay, I send it again. I send it again.
Okay, you're not sharing then. You're sending the picture to Zoom somehow. That's different than sharing.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, everybody.
So
I have the picture now. Can I share it?
I don't know, can you? This is what we're trying to do, yes. Do you know how to share?
Okay, there is a share button on the bottom of the picture. And there's this envoyer Zoom to send to the Zoom.
No, you're not sending it to the Zoom. Do you know how to share on your Zoom? To share screen?
Okay. Okay, share. This cut up. I'm sorry, everybody. Sharing. No, no. I don't have the bottom of share.
No. Okay, then we'll have to learn this off screen. Sorry. And this is why we send pictures and the background before the workshop instead of trying to do it impromptu, because sometimes we have complications for those that don't know how to share. So you can send the picture to me and maybe we can share it at a later time or something. No, I don't know how to work your device there, so I don't know how to do it. But it's not working now, so we're not going to do it anymore. Okay, sorry.
You're welcome. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, maybe next time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, there's always more questions, Mr. Keshe, but perhaps you'd like to wrap things up for today. So are you still there, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, no problem. Thank you very much, Rick. I hope, as we all said, we learned a little bit more today. And as we progress towards what we call another phase of teaching, understanding more of, we refer back more to the books because many of you can read it and go back to it and understand the totality of the knowledge. But as you've seen over past years, each part of the knowledge uses the same words, the same book, but it brings different enlightenment, different understanding to many of us. And this is what we call universal knowledge is. We take from it according to our intellect and understanding and conditions. Man has chosen to understand and use his intellect up to the point of material condition and instruct himself. Now has a choice to go further and use a new intellect, new understanding, and expand the horizon of his existence in different dimensions, where what we call death does not exist, where eternity exists in dimensions of millions and billions of years in comparison to the man's cycle of life, where in that dimension it could be a second. And this is how we transmute through light from one to another, and we decide where and how to manifest our existence. Thank you very much for today. And we hope we meet soon and learn a little bit more about the truth about the life and what we call universal life and more than matter life. Up to now, we had the cars and the carts. Now we have the light and what we call enlightenment. And depends how we want to use which one. If you are in the dimension of physicality or in the dimension of the fields of the energy of the plasma, you might call it the soul or the sun or whatever. Thank you very much, Rick, today. And hopefully we'll see you next week.
Okay, very good, Mr. Keshe. Thank you once again for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here, 396 in this case, on Thursday, September 2nd, 2021. And we see we have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace coming up on Tuesday of next week, as per usual. And that starts at 4 p.m. Central European time. And I'll play a few ads here to end today's meeting. And thank you, everybody, for attending today. Thank you, especially for those that had the questions. And if there's any questions remaining, please carry them over till next workshop. And we'll see if we can take care of it then. Okay, start off with the Maggrav Energizer. And bye for now.
Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
innovative, revolutionary, stellar development. Purest universal knowledge in a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information. Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. KesheFoundation.org/donate